Our second lecturer is Mr. Krzysztof Lipiec. He's plenipotentiary of the Director for Economic Partnership at the Łukasiewicz PIAP Institute. Mr. Lipiec is the Director for Economic Partnership at the Łukasiewicz PIAP Institute, responsible for public funding, commercialization of research results, and business support program. During the presentation, Mr. Krzysztof will introduce us on Industry 4.0 in Poland from the perspective of National Research Network, who will provide support. Mr. Krzysztof, take the word and welcome.
Thank you. Can you see my first slide now?
Yes, please. Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. I once asked my friends, how did you meet your wife? And he told me, well, I was at the right place in right time. And when I was preparing this presentation for you for today, I thought that that's exactly the approach that should be applied to the activities I will be talking about. But before we start, why bother with supporting Industry 4.0 at all? We want to speed up the uptake of digital technologies by manufacturing companies. But why? The large multinationals are already there, but the digital divide between them and SMEs is growing. Why? There is lack of funding and awareness, and the ecosystem is inefficient, or so we think. I don't have the overview of the whole economy, but I have some experiences, and I will try to share them with you today. So let me finally introduce myself. My name is Krzysztof Lipiec. I have 17 years of experience in supporting entrepreneurship and innovation, and 22 years experience with EU funding. The 5 years difference is time when I was dealing with enlargement of the European Union. I was also CEO at a state-owned company. I was the founder of innovation incubator, of digital innovation hub, of startup. I'm also a member of numerous advisory bodies, investment boards, and currently, as mentioned previously, I'm a director for business development at the Public Research Institute, Łukasiewicz PIAP. So the place where I work is 300 people working in Warsaw mainly, but also in Toruń. Half of us are engineers, and you are the first and the biggest research institute for robotics in Poland. We have our own products sold worldwide, and an example of such product you can see in the picture on the left of the slide. But for the sake of today's presentation, I think it's more important to point out the technology services we have as an institute. That is technology services in the area of mechatronic systems. We have individual production and small lot production. We develop measurement systems and sensor and user systems. We are also good at downstreaming geolocation and embedded systems. And these competences are implemented in industries like defense and security, first of all, but also manufacturing, transport and mobility, space, agriculture, logistics, mining, and construction. So this is the background of our institution. And let me now shortly present you the way our institute made from a competence center to through international cooperation to something I call network institution. That has been introduced. This concept has been introduced before, both by Łukasz and Tomasz, because that's exactly the way the digital innovation hubs are supposed to work, to connect the potential of the network and to provide integrated services. So we were established in 1965, and in 1976 we manufactured Polish first industrial robot. And in 85 we developed the first microprocessor controller, first in Poland. And in 1903 we already started our involvement in EU projects. We have completed more than 100 of them until now. And 1999 was another important year for us, because that's when we sold our first mobile robot, and since then we've been selling more and more, and we are now present in 20 countries on 3 continents where we sell such robots. And in 2003 we entered the railway market with our tachograph, which is also one of our main products on national and international markets. In 2008, we had our large international projects, and the biggest was Talos. It was a 20 million euro project within 7 framework program of the EU. And another important date from the point of view of our today's meeting is 2017, when we launched our digital innovation hub. And in 2019, we joined Łukasiewicz research network, that a research network of institutes in Poland that was established in 2019, and that's why our institute is now called Łukasiewicz PIAP. So I'm here today to give you some examples of how in an institution like ours, different kind of support measures for Industry 4.0 worked out. And a spoiler alert, I picked only ones that actually worked. I think it's more beneficial for all of us to talk about success, but if you have questions about failures, maybe there will be also an opportunity to talk about them on some other occasion. So the concept of Digital Innovation Hub has been already introduced, so I will not talk much about it. What is important is how we understand it. One-stop shops providing companies with access to technology facilities, financial support, market analysis, and networking opportunities. And that's what I call this integrated services. Because that's what we do. We provide R&D services and system integration services. We provide cascade funding, because funding is always a nice incentive to take more risk for companies. We organize B2B meetings, trade fairs, and conferences. That's in order to create a nice integrated network ecosystem that can efficiently work together. We also provide business mentoring services for SMEs and technology mentoring. That's very important because we participated in several European digital innovation hub networks funded from the Horizon 2020 program, and we developed some nice standards for services for institutions like ours. And technology mentoring turned out to be one of the most successful services and most useful for our customers. So bottom line for this slide is the first good practice. One-stop shop actually works, and it advances the ecosystem. So it's a good way to go. Second, tailor-made advisory support and reference frameworks. And here in the brackets, I put the word ADMA, that stands for Advanced Manufacturing. I was lucky enough to be in the team who developed this methodology to actually first make scans in companies, scans or audits. Pick the word you like, but the idea is to get an overview of how the company performs in 7 transformation areas mentioned here in the slide. That is advanced manufacturing technologies, digital factory, eco factory, end-to-end customer-focused engineering, human-centered organization, smart manufacturing, and value chain-oriented open factory. So first, we help companies to self-assess their current level of development in all these 7 transformation areas. Then we provide them with a summary report where they learn how they compare to others, because we also develop at the same time benchmarks or reference framework, so that they can position themselves among other similar companies. And then they decide how they want to develop. And then the second stage comes in, and we provide them with the right expert who can help them to generate a plan, a roadmap to develop further in the area that has the most potential for their business, that is the most that has the highest priority for development of their company. So basically, they decide by themselves, they evaluate themselves, and our role is just to guide them through the process, so that it's so that the methodology is implemented properly, and they can benefit most from them. And along with this, we also animate kind of social network of people managing such companies, CEOs, directors, people responsible for investments in technology, but also for other important areas. I don't want to tell more about ADMA now, but as you can see, I'm quite thrilled with this methodology, and I think that the well-designed consulting builds the awareness we were talking about in the first slide. So is this I'm sure it's not the only methodology that exists, and is this methodology the best? I don't know, but we were in the right place in the right time with this methodology, and it has become very popular in Poland now, and many companies want to have this implemented in their businesses. So the next good practice I'd like to share with you is innovation vouchers. These are kind of small grants by Polish Agency for Enterprise Development. By small, I mean in the first stage, a company can get 73,000 euro for cooperation with an organization like ours, with R&D entities or scientific institution to develop a new or improved product, service, technology, and so on. And then in the second stage, they can get 121k euro to finance implementation of this idea. So it's not a very large amount of funding. However, for many, especially smaller companies, it turned out to be just enough for the Polish market, because the scale of investment is also dependent on the scale of the business itself. And because the amount is not so big, we can target a much larger group of companies to encourage them to start their development in this direction. So the support ranges from 70 to 85% of the project value. So again, it's quite an approachable kind of funding for them. So the bottom line for this slide from me is that small funding can be enough, because this way we can activate many with lesser budget. But funding is crucial, because very often in order to get a large number of companies on board for this transformation journey, you need some incentives. and that's a good example of one. And so that was the three main problems I mentioned in the first slide, targeted with three different examples of activities. And there's one bonus, and this bonus is EIT manufacturing. I've been running our national contact point, or so-called national hub for EIT manufacturing. And again, it's a nice way to develop manufacturing companies, because it's private-public partnership involving half of the members roughly are industry partners and half are RTOs and universities. And that's for a reason, because this partnership is very efficient at linking industrial partners with academia, and it's also a very nice environment for development of startups. So for this reason, it's good to get involved, and as you can see in the map, Croatia is already there. So probably most of you have heard about EIT manufacturing. If not, it's worth to think about getting involved more, because they also provide very specific tools, also small grants, but also it's the best way probably to get involved in international cooperation. These projects are much easier than Horizon projects. There's much support from already existing members and national hubs. And this is a nice also funding for this period between framework programs, and the budget of more than 400 million euro up to 2026 is already there. So every year there are calls, and you can use it. So the bottom line for this bonus slide is that international networking actually works. And another example of this international networking could be our services I mentioned before. They've been also developed in international cooperation. International networks of digital innovation hubs develop some standards for services, which would be way more difficult for us to develop if we had to do it all by ourselves. And also from ADMA, we can see that if our companies find their partners somewhere abroad, and they can talk to their peers in another country where probably they have made already more progress in digitization, is the most convincing way to show companies how things could be done, because they may not trust me because I'm coming kind of from public sector, at least a little bit. They may not trust something they hear at the conference, but if they meet a board member like themselves from another company, from the same kind of industry, they will most likely be inspired if this company made a good progress. So I'm approaching to the end of this presentation, and I hope there will be some questions. So I want to have a couple of minutes left for answering them. But I think this slide shows that all we need to do is to be in the right time, in the right place. And one more thing that I've noticed is that sometimes it's difficult to implement these so-called soft projects with many KPIs targeting companies, and it's hard to get companies on board, hard to get them involved. But I believe that when you generate a real value for the company, if we always ask ourselves, does this company really need it? I mean, do we need the company, or does the company need us to support them? That's the only criteria that should be applied. If we feel, and if we then check it in the market, and if then we know it, that some kind of service brings real value to the business of our customers, then it's worth the effort, and only then it's worth to get involved with such project. That's what I believe. And with these three: awareness, ecosystem, and funding, we can speed up the uptake of digital technologies in manufacturing. So thank you for now, and I hope to get many questions.
Thank you, Krzysztof, for your experience, for your rich experience. Actually, we do have a couple of questions, and myself are very also interested in the answers for those questions. Especially, as you said, you were at the right time at the right place with the certain methodology, and of course, you don't know maybe is it the best methodology, but it definitely works, or it works so far for you. So we have a question from Mr. Mario Vukelic. Do you find ADMA method better for initial assessment than the German VDMA questionnaire or VDMA questionnaire? How have you used both, maybe?
Well, to be honest, for this first initial quick assessment of companies, I know several approaches. I know that some of Polish digital innovation hubs develop their own methodologies, and I myself also have one developed by EIT Manufacturing. So I've never had a chance to use the German methodology you're mentioning, but it also depends what you want to achieve. ADMA methodology gets the company very much involved. It requires time and effort, and quite a lot of involvement, both from the consultants and from the company. But I've seen very good results. For some purposes, you just need a quick checkup. And then probably ADMA is not the best because it takes too much time. And in such on such occasions, I personally am using now the methodology developed by EIT Manufacturing. It's also developed in the project that has not been completed yet, so it's still in the pilot phase. But probably next year it will be also available to the broader public, and I will be happy to present it also to you because I was involved in the process of creating it, and we've been thinking of it as an alternative on occasions where ADMA is not the best case.
Thank you for that. So I have an additional question regarding that. So the methodologies you've been mentioning and other methodologies are there. So there's been quite of a mushrooming of methodologies, assessments, methods out there across the globe, not only in Poland or Europe. So what do you think, what would be the best way for a company, for a manufacturing company, to approach these, and how to select the one that would best suit their interest? Given the situation again that, of course, they can maybe, if they want to cooperate with a certain DIH, they maybe have to use what that DIH uses, you know, and how to go about it.
Well, the best tool is the tool you have, actually. So it's, I think you've answered your question, because I know that ADMA is used for many years in Belgium, in the Netherlands, recently also in Poland, Canada, and Israel, I guess. These are the countries that were the quickest with taking up ADMA. But there are others, and if there's a strong hub or some other strong consulting entity which is proficient in another proven methodology, just use it. I mean, what's important is the purpose, right? The company has to evaluate its position, has to maybe broaden their view. They need to have a chance to compare different solutions and have a proven method of choosing one that suits them most. And if it's ADMA or whether it's ADMA or something else, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if the company approaches me, I say ADMA because that's the method I know. But yeah, if you have another and it works, yeah, just use it.
So if I can rephrase you in a sense that what is the most expensive is the time of waiting, not doing anything. So you're better with going with some suboptimal maybe methodology, but fail fast, learn fast, and pick up from there and move on.
Be proactive, yeah.
Be proactive.
And I would also stress the importance of the right consultant. I mean, sometimes, well, I would rather advise a good consultant with poor methodology than otherwise. So it's also that's also an important factor.
Good one. Yeah, there is this also a question from Mr. Ivandic. So, based on your experiences with ADMA assessments, how many companies that started with an assessment finished with a successful implementation of a roadmap that was made after the assessment? Like, you know, what was the failure rate or success rate, or how many companies actually finished what they've started with you or others?
Well, it's still not enough time to evaluate it from Polish experiences, because it's, well, for most companies, it's now more or less 2 years from when they first started with ADMA process. So it's too early to talk about implementation and impact on their businesses in Poland. However, we can compare it with Belgium, and I'm not able to talk about ratios here, but I met several CEOs of companies who actually went through the whole process and actually made the assessment again after they finished the first round, let's call it. Because actually, when you by the time you finished your roadmap, it's time to evaluate yourself again to see if you've done any progress or maybe not. So the whole cycle sometimes was about 5 years, and the earliest adopters of ADMA started about 7-8 years ago, I believe. And I've seen many examples of success of such companies. However, I don't have exact, precise data on how many failed.
Okay. Well, we have just a minute or two but let's leave other questions maybe for Q&A session. So thank you, Krzysztof, again for the experience, and hopefully we'll have additional time for the questions at the Q&A session. Now I would like to